Hello, Storygoers, and welcome back to another episode of Tales from the Cartridge, the video game storytelling podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Eric Penrod.
And I'm your other co-host, Ryan Bauer.
Ryan, I know I've brought this up before.
Yep.
So this will probably be used in a future Netflix documentary when all this is said and done. You know, I'm sure that the audio of this will be reused, and it'll be kind of haunting and like, wow, like, what was he actually thinking? But the topic, I've talked about cults before on the show and how they're very interesting. And I was talking to my fiance had her friend come for a visit to Southern Maine, beautiful Southern Maine, to spend the weekend, and we were watching this documentary about cults again. You know, we haven't watched it in a while. I swear it's not a thing that I typically watch all the time. I think it's funny to talk about. And I really feel like, you know, there are some people who want to go skydiving, and some people who want to, like, you know, go scuba diving, and some people want to, you know, do kind of like extreme things, you know, and just to say they did it.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of over here just like, man, I really just want to see if I can start a cult. Like, I really want to see if I have what it takes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't care about skydiving. I don't care about scuba. I would go scuba diving, actually. That'd be kind of cool. Like in the coral reef and stuff. Anyway.
Sure.
Okay, hold up. Wait. Sorry, I wasn't planning on this, but this is it. Ryan, this is how you get them. Okay. Here's my cult idea. This will be the Netflix documentary. This will be the intro.
Okay.
Like 1 year before.
I'll start a true crime podcast based off of this conversation and what comes next. Yeah, exactly.
I think I'm including you. Sorry, you're the first member.
That's fine. Okay. Yeah.
Let's start a cult based all around scuba diving. I think we can do this. I think we just do a bunch of humbo jumbo about corals and the coral reef symbolizing this and that. And I think we can do this. I just want to start it just to see if I can do it. I feel like is it a total manipulation of people and breaking trust and boundaries and horrifying things? Yeah, of course. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to do horrible things to these people, right? I don't want to do that. It's just not. That's just no. I just want to go scuba diving, but I want them to be fully invested in the idea that this is like what this is. You know what I mean? I want them to be calling me a weird. Like, I want to be called like. What's a coral reef, like kind of like a godly name, you know, like call me Neptune or something. Like, I'm the reincarnation of Neptune. That's what we're going with here. That's what we're going here.
You're the reincarnation of Neptune, the Roman, not the Greek of Poseidon.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, you know, because everyone's gonna be saying that they're Poseidon or whatever like that. I'm sure there's some cult that's had that. I'm gonna go a little rogue. I'm gonna go Roman here. I'm gonna go Roman.
Okay.
I'll be honest with you, Ryan, I don't know any of the Roman gods. But you can
I'm
be whatever you
positive
want.
that you do. I'm positive you
think
do.
So?
Because, Eric, they're just planets. Pluto is a Roman god. The planets are all named after the Roman gods. Yeah.
Oh, okay. See, Greek is
Jupiter
so in the
is
forefront of my brain.
Zeus.
Jupiter is Zeus.
Jupiter is
really
Zeus.
big. It is really big. Okay. Is Hades Mars?
I think Ares is Mars.
Ares.
Yeah,
Ares
Mars
is Mars.
War.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I don't know who Hades is. Hades might be Pluto.
Pluto's dead, which is kind of Hades,
right?
It's kind of a thing.
Yeah,
okay,
I'm sure. I could be wrong on some of these, but the planets are all named after Roman gods.
Okay. But yeah, anyway, long story short, I'd like to say we can start a cult.
You could probably, like, if you're doing Roman gods, right, and you're doing it, you could probably get some astrology in there, right? Because if you're talking about Neptune and the planets, you could do some astrology in there, right? Which is already something that people are into. What's
the closest we'll ever get to the ocean? Like the feeling of, I'm sorry, I botched that. Hold up, back it up.
Okay.
Sometimes Neptune makes mistakes, like the seas, they're uncontrollable. What is the closest we'll ever get to feeling like we're in space?
Yeah,
the ocean.
Okay, the ocean. Yeah,
the ocean.
Yeah. It's
the vastness of space
and dark, and
it's kind of like the vastness of the ocean. You never know what you're going to get.
Absolutely.
There's no air. Neither have air.
Yep.
You're both kind of floating around.
Yep.
Mostly unexplored. I don't see a difference right now.
Yeah. So, maybe you could like start your own like rapture type situation where you you take people down and you can convince some like rich tech billionaires to like build you an underwater city. Easy money.
Yeah. I can manipulate that loser easy.
Absolutely, yeah.
Easy. I'll have him call me Neptune by tomorrow at this rate. It'll just be an underwater city full of just crappy, horrible Cybertrucks.
There you go.
We'll call it Hades. It sounds like literal hell. I would not want to do that.
Maybe you could convince a bunch of okay.
Oh,
Eric,
so you're in on it now. I see
Eric,
it.
let's make this a little altruistic. Convince all the billionaires and tech people to go down and start this underwater city with you.
Yeah.
Just leave them there. Just let them.
I love it.
You know what I mean?
Wipe
out.
I love it. I'm gonna introduce a special substance called, I don't know, I'll call it Atom, and it'll give everyone powers. But it's
and just tell them
addictive.
They can do whatever they want. We don't need to deal with the government. We don't need to deal with religion. We'll just fund our own. No one can touch us down here. It's our own magical place. Yeah.
And this will be the best cult ever because we will have literally eaten the rich, quote unquote, but we'll just have put them underwater where no one will ever have to see them. Yeah. Honestly, you're making a really beneficial cult for the middle class and everyone else. You know what I mean? For middle class and down.
I heard a really fun statistic earlier this week when I was listening to a podcast that all of the wealth, 0.5% of the people in the wealthy people own 90% of the wealth, and then the other 95% is everybody else, and they own the same amount of wealth. There's 20,000 people who own as much wealth as everybody else in the world combined. So if you can get 20,000 people down there, you got a party, and easy. You've just equalized, cleaned the ledger for folks, because all their wealth is tied up in equity and debt and stuff like that. So,
I mean, they're already freaks anyway. So let's just send it
down. Just send it
I'm
down.
on board. This is gonna be the best cult ever. Yeah. You know what I mean? I think we should have a really cool Sorry, we'll get to the episode soon. Let's keep going with this. This is pretty fun. This is a cult podcast now. I think we should have a cool Roman name for the cult that translates into let's get the rich down to the ocean and leave them there.
Okay.
That's what it'll translate into.
Yeah. There was a bunch of cults in Roman times who were focused on specific gods, and you could find one of those and then just
Neptune.
Get some Latin in there to make it feel wealthy in the ocean or something like that. Yeah. And you could get cloaks and say Latin. And stuff like that.
Yeah, cloaks are cool, but that's kind of old. I want to be a hip new cult. I want to be a
capes or scarves, infinity scarves.
Well, we gotta get these rich people invested. We gotta get them you gotta make them. I think if they want to wear cloaks, that's too much. They're probably already doing that in their spare time.
Could you do something with AI?
Oh, I totally could do something with AI. I could totally do something with AI in the worst way. I hate it. I don't want to do. I don't want to use it unless it's for this cult for the purposes of getting the rich people down to the ocean and leaving them there. Then I can be okay, maybe AI is helpful. I think we should go to ChatGPT and put this question in and see what kind of answers it gives to us. I think it's not a bad idea.
Maybe you could partner with ChatGPT, right? To work together to get it, you know what I mean? Appeal to their whatever.
Human and AI come together for the greater good of humanity.
Exactly.
Yes. Before we get into the episode, I just want to say too, I think I've told this joke before, but I want to say it again because I think it's really funny. But I will say, in the same vein as this whole cult thing, Ryan, I do think my worst fear in life, and this goes along with what we're talking about, I think my worst fear in life is getting hear me out, everyone. If there's kids in the room, I'm so sorry. Please skip ahead. I think my greatest fear is getting killed by someone, but not because I would get killed by someone. It's because I would probably end up on some white girl's true crime podcast. Yeah, and that sucks. That would just blow. You know what I mean? It's my goofy picture behind some girl doing her makeup on YouTube.
You're in black and white. Yeah, you're in
the
black
dagger
and white.
Through my. It's like a clip art dagger in my head. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a picture of, it's the most unflattering picture in some
the fall
girl.
Of Neptune, right? Yeah.
It would be all about the cult and how I got killed by a bunch of rich people for making them try to wear cloaks and stuff.
Eric!
Yeah.
You have to use a submersible to get to your underwater city.
Obviously.
That is built on the ruins of the Titanic.
Oh.
Right? Then you're taking folks
Cameron
down there. Exactly.
Yes.
You're taking folks down there. They're getting to see it and then also live there.
Oh, I love it. I think... Okay. All right. Hold on. Okay, we're almost 10 minutes in this episode and we still have not started yet. Oh, I think what would be great, Ryan, is if we resurrect the goal of the cult of Neptune, or whatever you want to call it, is to resurrect the Titanic with all the rich people helping out and doing all things. We lift the Titanic in some way, shape, or form out of the water. It resubmerges. Oh, it's so cool! It's in the middle of the ocean. But then, Ryan, we rig it to break again. Below the Titanic will be another iceberg that we send off. I don't know the logistics yet.
We'll figure it out.
That splits the Titanic in half with all the rich people on it, and then whatever happens. Whatever that's
we
not.
Film the whole thing.
Yeah,
we film the whole thing, and then it's art. Right? It's art then, right?
And that'll be on the Tales Patreon.
Exactly, yeah. Behind a paywall. This beautiful art exhibit of like the Titanic again or something like that. And it'll just be, we'll have we'll have a whole camera crew, we'll film the whole thing. And it'll be art. It'll be like, here's what happened, and it'll be speaking to something of like the wealthy all, doing this thing and then the folly of man or something. Yeah, I think you could say a lot.
I think the thumbnail could be like, we could get a shot of like Jeff Bezos holding James Cameron, like Jack and Rose in the Titanic at the front of the ship.
That would be really fun.
It'd be a really good image to sell. I think we can do that. That could be this image to sell this on when we post this on Instagram. Like we post this is out. Like that could be the image.
Just so confusing.
Just no one has no idea. Yeah. Because what is happening? Like this has been literally 11 minutes in this episode. And we have not started it.
But I think there's something here, though. I think there's something.
Me
here.
too. Oh, for sure. So again, I think. I just really want to see if I can start a cult.
Yeah. And so why not start an altruistic cult? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that'd be for the betterment. Let's distribute the wealth. Let's get things back on track. Now, I'm not saying let's go full socialism here. I think every form of government has its issues, but I think we can figure something out here. I think we can do a little bit. Change ain't always bad. You know what I mean?
Right. There's things have changed. There was a time when kings were in charge. We figured out that didn't quite work. There was a time where like mercantilism was really big, and that didn't quite work for reasons that are really dark and grim. And now we're on this new like cool fun thing we're trying out, where like only a couple people get to buy things and everyone else doesn't. And it might be fun to change that a bit.
I would love to change that one a bit. I think everyone would like to change that one a bit. The majority of humans, I think, would like to change that one a bit. I would really bet a lot of money. That hopefully we'll get when they end this whole cult situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Maybe you could have them like sign the folks who are going down, like sign away their wealth, like to some like separate fund that like when they're done gets like redistributed, or that money just gets like deleted or something. Right? Like it's all digital wealth and it just gets like wiped out.
I like to distribute. I don't know if I want to get it wiped out. I think that would throw off the whole U.S. economy.
I think you're just the challenge of distributing is who gets, how do you decide who gets what and what percentage, you know what I mean, and how like there's a challenge there. But I guess you could give everybody a certain percentage or a certain amount.
Yeah. I mean, let's make sure everyone gets enough. Everyone gets their fair share, and then we'll do some math. I don't know how that math's out, but we'll figure. Yeah, we'll get someone to do it.
I'm sure somebody who's in this cult will be good at math.
I would hope so, but you never know, Ryan. I feel like we can get a whole bunch of people in here, and they all are bad at math. I'm bad at math, and then I can't judge them. You know what I mean? Because I'm bad at math, so it's like, well, I can't be mad at my cult followers because they don't do math well. You know what I mean? They're listening to this podcast, so how good at math can they be? I don't know. Yeah. Ryan, how are you? What have you been playing?
I'm doing pretty good. Just hanging out.
Yeah.
Excited. We're gonna go see a movie later, which is exciting.
Yeah. Yes.
Finally. So just enjoying my weekend. As far as what I've been playing, I took a little bit of a break from Elden Ring this week. I have this like one thing I need to do in that game, and once I do that, it like shuts certain areas off of the game. So I'm kind of hesitant to do that because it locks you out of a bunch of stuff. And like just a heads up, anybody who hasn't played yet, there's a bunch of stuff that you can just miss or shut yourself off to, and there's like it doesn't warn you in any way. So you just have to be a little bit careful because there's certain things you can do to then just like lock entire parts of the game out, or like quests and stuff like that. But yeah, so I've been kind of dragging my feet to do that, but I think I'm finally ready to do that. And once I do, I'm pretty close to the end of the game. I haven't started the DLC yet, but getting close to the end of the game. I've beaten all the major bosses except the last ones.
Wow, Ryan, I am very impressed. I like, not to say that I didn't think you were gonna do it or anything like that, but I'm just like,
I die a lot. I mean,
that's just gonna happen. Right? No one can judge you on that. Like, I think that's just gonna happen.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's been fun. And then I'm kind of like in between games right now. I mean, I'm like doing Elden Ring. I dipped into like Moving Out 2, which is like a fun, almost like Overcooked type game. It's very fun. So we've been playing a little bit of that, and that's kind of it. That's kind of all I've been doing. This week was a pretty busy time, and I didn't have a ton of time to play much else. So the next new Diablo season starts next week.
Oh,
and
exciting.
then the new expansion comes out in October, and that's we're getting there. And October's like 2.5 months away.
We gotta start preparing.
3 months away. We do have to start preparing.
Yeah, we really need to start preparing. I
need to have like an all hands meeting. Get all the company together. Get all the ones together to start making some
Neptunians come together. Get your cloaks.
Yeah.
Don't let Elon set this one out. I don't want him around. He's annoying.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But yeah, that's it. I'm doing well. And I've been playing just a little bit. But Eric, how are you? And what have you been playing?
I am good. I am excited to go see. We're seeing Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah.
Our lovely significant others. It sound like they weren't interested.
Not interested. No. My significant other was only interested if your significant other was interested.
I did feel like that was the case too. That's why I wanted to tell you. Yeah.
Yeah.
My significant other likes Deadpool, but is just tired from the visit with her friend. And
totally reasonable.
Yeah. And I just don't want to get spoiled on it. So I've seen like one or two things that I think were minor spoilers, and I'm just trying hard to. Everyone, it blows my mind that like there was such a huge decrease. I mean, seemingly, I don't know if this is actually true or not. It seems like there's been a big decrease in people who go to the movies compared to people who just wait, because now movies come out so fast on streaming platforms. Like it's kind of crazy. But then I feel like with Deadpool and Wolverine, everyone's just forgotten that kind of thing, that there's some people who don't go, because so many people have gone to see the movie who probably haven't usually gone to the movie theaters to see that. But now like spoilers are just like rampant again. You know what I mean? Like we used to have like a grace period and people were cool with it. Then like 1 week goes by and everyone's like, all right, we don't have to wait anymore. Everyone's seen it. But it's like, no, like that's not everyone's seen this thing. But I'm really excited for it. And
same.
Yeah, this week was really busy. Now that you mention it, this week has been really busy. Yeah, so I'm like thinking about, I had a long week at work, and I did a therapy training that was really cool, but also just like kind of added on to the week. So yeah, but overall things are going well. I can't wait to eat popcorn later. I'm very excited for movie theater popcorn. There's a free refill, by the way. We're on larges. Yeah. Now, have you seen the machine at the one we go to?
I haven't seen the machine. Cool. I'm excited to check it out.
Popcorn. Yeah, I'm very excited for it. I'm sure it's very much a thing that happens. Everyone gets to do, but we don't get to until now. I'm very excited for it.
Right. Yeah.
But no, I'm good. And then for what I've been playing, I'm in between. I want to jump into Bloodborne. I need to download it. Yeah. I need to like prepare myself for it. So I can just like start playing it, because when I want to start playing it, I'm not ready to play it, and then I have to do things, and I move on to something else. So I need to get that download. I want to get into Bloodborne. I want to finish that before I jump into Elden Ring. But for now, what I've been playing is, of course, Fortnite. Doing my Fortnite thing. Yeah. Deadpool skin came out. Had to get that.
Oh,
got
very
so
cool.
much stuff. It's whenever I win, it's Murder on the Dance Floor emote in Deadpool. That's like my go-to right now. I want the 12-year-olds to know that I've come for them. Like they will not survive if I'm in the ring. That's not true. They destroyed me. I've only done it like one time. It doesn't happen often. Still playing a little bit of Link's Awakening, not as much as I would want to, but a little bit of that. And then I'm playing a lot of Smash Brothers at work with my therapy kids. Okay, we do a little bit of therapy, then play some games with them. Man, I love Smash. I love Smash so much. I think it's such a special game. So cool. Two no-nos in my book, though. I think Sakurai could have done. I don't understand why he didn't put Waluigi in. I would never use Waluigi, but it just feels like he fits so well in this idea of this game. And then I'm also a little peeved at Sakurai because he doesn't put Shovel Knight in. And Shovel Knight is such a cool... He's what's it called? Cool. An assist trophy. He walks around, he attacks people. Like, he legitimately could have been a character in the game. Like, he has all the things you need. He could have been such a good character compared to some of the other weird ones he put in for the DLC. But I guess that's just not my call. I do think, my thought is this, Ryan. They will have to make a new one. Because eventually,
Smash
that game
2,
sells like
for
crazy.
Sure. Smash 2.
Smash 2.
Absolutely.
Smash harder.
Yeah,
Super Smasher Brothers. Like, I think it'll never be like this again, I think, where it has so many different ones. I think if Nintendo went back and then just focused solely on only Nintendo characters and didn't focus on getting the old ones back. I think they can get the old ones back, cool. But I think if they don't think they can, focus on how many Nintendo properties do we have, what cool characters can we make, and let's get a big Smash game together with those properties we don't have to worry about getting the licenses for. I think that could be really cool.
For sure.
So I think the idea that we can't have a Smash Brothers, a new one again, because of how big Ultimate was, which it is, it's crazy huge and full of cool characters. I think that they just kind of dial it back in a different way and went a different direction with it. It could be so cool. I really hope they do it. I hope they make a new one.
I can't imagine they ship this new system that doesn't have a new Mario Kart, a new Smash. I feel like you're throwing away so much cash. For those big tentpole experiences, if not like at launch, within a year of launch. I just feel like those are like system movers for so many folks. But I don't know. I'm not as dialed into that whole ecosystem as much as I used to be. But it'd be interesting to see. I mean, we'll know hopefully in the next year or so, whenever all that gets announced and it's talked about. Yeah, I imagine they'll have to talk about it soon if they want to ship it in the spring or the fall.
I think if Sakurai comes back, will be a huge indicator of where the future of Smash will go. Because I think Sakurai has such good connections with all the people that he's worked with that he could potentially get those properties back again and have all the characters come back again and even more. But if Sakurai doesn't come back, then I think they have to go a different route. Or not have to, but it's more likely that they would. So I don't know. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. And you mentioned moving out too. I've been playing Moving Out 1 at work. Because it's a great co-op game to play with people who struggle with their emotional regulation. So it's great to pause
and communication skills, right? Like there's some, especially if you're moving things together and throwing at the same time and all that, you have to communicate and like, I need you to open this door while I pull, or I need you to shift your body over here so we can get it out this space. Yeah,
it's great.
It's good stuff.
Is when you finish that level and you get at least a silver, because like, getting a gold in that game is impossible. I don't know how people get gold in that game.
Interesting. Yeah.
Do you get gold a lot?
So there isn't in 2. It's not like there's like you have like a beat it by time and like a good job time that's like half of that. Then you have like these mystery trophies that are like bonuses. One of them is like you have 10 minutes to beat the level. If you beat it in 5 minutes, you got it like fast. And then it's like get everything out without breaking a window. Get everything out with there's a thing that says like zap something and it doesn't tell you what it is or what to do. And the third one is like, water the flamingo. And so like there's these like bonus objectives. And if you like do it fast, you can then take your time on the bonus objectives. And what you just get all 5 stars and then it adds towards your thing. But it doesn't, there's no medals or anything like that. It's just like beat it fast or beat it slow. And then here's some objectives to help out.
The hidden objectives is still a thing in the first one, but in the first one, there's like a timer. And then if you go past a certain amount of time, you go from gold medal to silver medal, and then from silver medal to bronze medal, and then if you lose time, then you lose fully.
So, this is just like there's a timer, and there's a line in the middle, and if you do it before, you get the fast time. You do it after, you still beat the level, and if you do beyond that, you lose.
Okay, I like that better.
Yeah. It takes I think taking some of that pressure off lets you be a little goofier and play in the space a little more.
Yeah, I agree. I love the character designs in that game, though. The character designs in Moving Out is fantastic. If they're the same way in the first one as in the second. Yeah. Love them. Is the little planter boy in that?
That's who I'm playing with right now.
Me too, Ryan. Do you still customize like what's in the pot?
So there's like 3 different skin options. So you can have like a regular pot, you can have the cactus. I don't remember what the third one is.
Is there a crow?
I don't know if it's a crow or not. I don't remember. But then there's the third one that's a different thing. Okay. But yeah,
there's
you
a crow
can find
one
like
in
skin packs. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I cut you off.
And then you can also like decide if your character wants to be in a wheelchair or not, which is also very cool.
Very cool.
It's very cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Such a good game.
Good time. Yeah.
Love multiplayer games. They're great.
Yeah.
Speaking of not multiplayer games, we hope you enjoyed our last episode of Fallout 1 Part 1.
Yeah.
Ryan did a great job on that.
Yeah.
I will.
when I was editing it, I realized we spent like 20 minutes talking about nonsense. We recorded 10 minutes of episode. We spent 20 minutes talking about nonsense. Which was lovely, which was great and very fun.
Yeah. We're still getting used to the new system.
Yeah, absolutely. And figuring out the length of things. Yeah. It was very fun. Yeah. It was a good time.
Yeah, I'm still working on the next Pikmin script, by the way. Gotta get that going more. We're still getting it. Like, when we had to read the whole episode, the whole script, like, you don't have to worry about time or worry about how much. So I think we're getting the hang of it. We'll get there.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Hopefully, Storygoers, you enjoyed that. And of course, you can send us your thoughts, feelings, and perspectives to talesfromthecartridge@gmail.com. All the E's are threes. On our social media, leaving a voicemail or text at our toll-free number of 207-494-4334, or answering the Spotify questions listed down below. We actually don't have any. July's been very tame. I think people have just been busy.
Yeah, July's a busy time. People do vacation, they do traveling, school's starting up soon for folks who are going out and taking some time, which is important. It's important to take some time. Yeah.
If you did write in and I missed it, I'm so sorry. I'll try to go back through again. I just didn't think we had any from what I remembered. But ADHD's Frickle mistress. I must have that wrong. So, of course, you could also donate to our Patreon if you find it in your hearts to do so. You could get our exclusive scripts, which I still got to put out. Warm, fuzzy feelings of supporting us. Exclusive episodes, which we're going to put out the Pokemon one soon. And you can also join the cult that we will see if we'll put together.
Cult updates. Find them there. Yeah.
It'll be merch one day. It'll be when we finally make it big on the podcast, we'll have cool Cult of Poseidon or Cult of Neptune merch. Yeah. And then no one will understand it but you in the fellow Storygoers. Yeah. It'll be cool. And on the back it says cloaks are lame. Cult of Neptune, cloaks are lame. That'd be cool.
Yeah. That'd be very cool.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds fun. That sounds good. That sounds like a good time. I like that. If you feel like you want to rate us on Apple and Spotify, that'd be super duper cool. And but Ryan, we are back at it. Hopefully for the last time. This should be the last.
I feel like it's gonna be the last time. Yeah. I mean, we're at 30 minutes at this point now, but I still think I think really we have one really intense discussion, some less intense discussions, and then maybe a really intense discussion depending on how it all shakes out. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we last time we did some It Takes Two versus Breath of the Wild. And
we should intro what we're doing. Like for people who haven't listened. If you haven't listened to the other two episodes, go back and listen to those so that you'll have no idea what we're talking about. We are talking about the great idea, which has lasted 3 episodes now, of rating all of the winners of the previous Game Awards for Game of the Year and seeing which narratives are better than the others to be the best narrative of the Game of the Year Awards winners. That makes sense?
Yeah. I think there's like 10 total, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, 10. The past 10 years.
That's 10
the
years.
Best story
that's
game,
a decade right there.
Game of the Year in the past 10 years. Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Which was only 2014.
Oh, that hurts. Okay. Remember when it was on Spike TV? Remember when the Game Awards were on Spike TV?
Yeah, I do remember when Spike TV was a thing.
If anyone doesn't know what Spike TV is, that sucks for me to know that. You know what I mean? Like, don't let me know if you know what Spike TV is.
That's a bummer.
That would really hurt me. That would really hurt me. I do like the way things are now, though. I love that YouTube's a platform that you can just stream anything on. Yeah. I love that you don't have to be on a certain channel. You remember how you watch E3 on like Spike TV? Or something like that.
Yeah, and or GTV or wherever
G4.
It was on. Yeah, G4. Yeah, and you only got those channels if you got like the better movie packet, the better TV package, because like
for G4,
regular TV. Yeah, G4 was a special channel you had to pay extra for to get access to. I can't even imagine what it is like now, how TV even works.
I don't get it. I don't understand.
Yeah.
Is it boomers? I don't know.
No, well, I mean, it's probably not working out because I think it's failing, but that's fine. That's probably
not
fine.
Like our cult. Our cult will thrive. We just keep talking about it and just really just
I mean, I think what we might need to do, Eric, is we might need to sit down and like play D&D sometimes, and you make a cult in D&D to like live out this experience.
I love that. I would go power hungry.
Yeah,
power is
and you
corrupted,
could.
And oh man,
you could.
I
absolutely
every human
could.
I think would. You kidding me?
Yeah.
No, I think. Anyway. I don't need to get the future Netflix documentary any more ammo. This is going to be... Right. This is already going to look bad the way...
You've given it plenty.
15 minutes of rambling about starting a cult here. I think that's plenty of ammo for the future documentary against me. Or the horrible thumbnail for the YouTuber that's going to talk about my cult death.
How long do you think your YouTube video will be? Think it'll be like a 4-hour one or like a half hour?
I mean, it probably has enough to have 4 hours, but the engagement with it would be so minimal. Right. You know what I mean? They'd be like, wow, this is so boring. We'd have to cut this down. Like, there's so much here, but like, it's all fluff. You know what I mean? Which fluff is good in moderation. I feel like that's probably what I am. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm the fluff of yeah.
Okay.
Unless I do something wild and wacky, but I literally couldn't. I can't even I pick up spiders and open the window, and let them go. You know, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna? You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. So worst case scenario. You know what's gonna end up? No, I won't say that. It's a horrible joke. That's too early. Never mind.
Eric, let's get to the thing that we're putting off because it's gonna be hard.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
We are. Yes. Writing on intro, which games we are on.
Sure.
Currently.
So we're on round 6 of 9. Yes. So we only have 3 rounds left. Easy. No, 4 rounds. That's how math works.
Yeah.
We have 4 left. Easy peasy. Almost done.
Squeezy. Yeah.
This round is God of War versus The Last of Us Part 2. The original God of War. God of War 2016. Versus The Last of Us 2018. Yeah, that's right. 2018.
Right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Versus The Last of Us Part 2. Man, what a tough. If only we had some type of criteria we could use to help guide us.
I love that you mentioned it because we do. We got criteria. Here's the rundown. If you haven't heard it already, really fast. We got emotional resonance. Is it touching your feels? We got character development. Are they developing the characters? The growth there. We got the plot. Is it good plot? Is it bad plot? And we got the world building. How great is this world? Is there a cool atmosphere to it, or is it poop? I don't know. It's a bummer. You know what I mean? That's what we're looking at here. And this is going to be a really hard conversation.
So hard.
It's going to be a really hard conversation. I don't know how we're going to pick between the two. I honestly
don't either.
Truly don't. I truly don't. I see this in two. I see this in. This is my perspective, Ryan. If I may share before we start diving into the criteria. These are 2 emotionally charged stories with 2 very different perspectives. One perspective is towards the bleakness of life and pursuing a goal that you could lose everything, and this is the other one is the hope of moving forward and the wanting to not lose the things that you love as you do so and to grow as a person. Two wildly almost similar but so different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of fascinating.
It's really interesting in that, if you look at the place that we are in the first God of War is very close to the place we are in, The Last of Us Part 1, right? Those have some really similar parallels. And then if you look at, God of War 2 and The Last of Us Part 2, they go in, very different directions. Very different. So this is really interesting that we're comparing, the second part of one story to the first part of the other story. It's really... It's going to be really tough because I think these are such incredible stories that are being told, and they are so character driven. And they just come with so much baggage, and the baggage of one relies on a game that came out, a few years ago, and the baggage of the other relies on this knowledge of an entire franchise that came before. Right. In a really interesting way. And it's wild.
I don't know what we're going to do if we disagree. That's going to be the scary part. I don't know how we're going to argue it.
I think we let our criteria guide us to start.
Yes.
And then we'll see where we're at. And I think now the only question I guess we have to think about is how do we objectively judge the emotional resonance of these experiences without comparing them, right? Is that something do you think we can do?
I mean, I honestly think the difference in all of these will just be points of it. It's so the first one on our criteria is emotional resonance, right? The story invokes strong emotions in the reader that are particularly effective, and we looking at factors such as emotional authenticity, resonance, and impact. And I feel they are both equal on our scale of 1 to 3. I think is what it was.
I think was it 1 to 3 or was it 1 to 4?
I think it was either 1 to 3 or 1 to 5, I thought.
Okay. I think you're right.
Because we have all of maybe it's just these ones are low. On the old ones that we did.
I think 1 to 3 might be right.
I think it's 1 to 3. Just make it easy on ourselves, I thought. But we can always change it too for this hard one. But I mean, I personally, but tell me what you think, of course, too, Ryan. I see the emotional resonance, and of course, Storygoers, this is to be spoiler ridden for The Last of Us Part 2.
It has to be. That's the only way we can have this conversation.
Yeah. So if you haven't played these games and you want to, please skip ahead. This is not going to be for you. But I feel like the emotional resonance is so, I think, in my mind, equal for each other, the story of Ellie and Abby in The Last of Us Part 2, and everything they sacrifice to not gain anything truly in return. And the emotional impact that kind of carries you into the idea of like revenge is not going to give you what you are seeking, compared to the emotional impact of God of War, where Kratos is this broken person, a person that, I mean, for me personally, I hated Kratos in all the original video games. I despised him as a character. To see the emotional impact of him trying to be a decent father and making mistakes, it was so human and so out of character. To see him, I mean, that's actually, character is a different subcategory, sorry. The emotional impact of him just trying to do well despite the flaws that he carries was huge. And that last scene, that last scene, I need to play this game again, honestly. I was thinking about this the other day. That last scene where Kratos puts his hands up and the rags come off his arms as if he's letting go of the burden that he's carried since he lost everything originally in Sparta. Like, that was like, it was huge. That was I think I cried at that scene. Like, that was like wild scene. Like, that like hit me so hard. But in the same way as like you see Ellie, and actually, you know, Ellie, yes, but especially Abby at the end of The Last of Us Part 2, and how frail and weak she is from being captured, and just her and her fight with Ellie, and just the rawness, and then Ellie going home to an empty house. It's gone. You know, everyone, and Dana and the baby are gone, and she has nothing now. Like, both carry such heavy emotional weight. I don't know how you could possibly say one's better than the other. I don't know.
I know. It's so interesting as you're describing these, Eric, how in conversation these games are almost with each other, right? Yeah. Like, Kratos saying these things to his son is what like Kratos needs to say to Ellie in these moments as he's having this conversation. And also what is so interesting and I think doesn't necessarily put it above, but is so interesting about God of War is your hatred and dislike of that character enhances the experience of this 100%. Game. Your dislike of how disgusting and gross Kratos wasn't something that was just like they had to overcome, but a feature that was built into this experience in a way that is like never been done in video games before, to like speak to a different version of this character. And games reboot all the time. This happens pretty regularly. Well, games will like reinvent themselves. Like it's getting ready to happen with Gears of War, right? Where games will like reinvent and reboot themselves, but never are they in conversation with who they were before in a way that God of War was. That is so interesting. And I think with Last of Us, like that first game ended in such a perfect emotional place that was so like complex and intense and evoked so much emotion because it showed like and I think like the highlight of both of these games, and we'll talk to this more in the next portion, is how flawed everybody in this experience is, right which is what makes the emotional resonance connect, because we are also flawed and we connect to that. It ended in such an interesting way and such a complex way that was so emotionally impactful that like caused incredible arguments and conversations. And then this next game is continuing that conversation in the same complex and intense way. I think it is really hard to try to gauge and weigh which one had a stronger emotional resonance. And what is also hard, at least for me personally, is that recency bias of one of these I've played within the past 2 years. One of these I haven't played for, 6 years now.
That's wild.
Which is insane. So that is also a challenge to overcome, to try to think through. That makes it really difficult.
Yeah. I think so. I'm trying to think of the most emotionally impactful moments in both games for me. And I think the ones that stick out to me are the moment I this is my own thing, and if you want to judge me for it, no, you Ryan, but you can too if you want to. But if anyone wants to judge me for it, that's fine. I just made it a point where like I didn't want to kill the dogs. I know the dogs in The Last of Us Part 2 were going to kill me if they found me, and that was within their right, because that's how they were trained, obviously, in this story for the game. But I just made this point in my mind. I wasn't gonna. This is a challenge for myself. I wasn't gonna kill any dogs. And then the moment when Ellie, you were kind of forced to kill the dog, I forget the dog's name in the story, that really hit me, because I kind of put this challenge onto myself and then ended up having to do it anyway. but I mean, it really hit me. Or the moment with Ellie and I forget the person's name in the hospital when she comes down and Ellie comes down her with the axe. Yeah. And that emotional intensity. I think that everything. I think that sitting with The Last of Us Part 2 emotionally was so heavy by the end of it. The idea of ever playing it again just seemed daunting to me. It seemed like way too much. Whereas the emotional impact of God of War, remembering where Kratos came from, especially to where he ends up at the end of that story, was, like you're saying, right, it's so emotionally impactful because, again, Kratos was awful. I've said this before on the show before, so I'm sorry to say it again, but that moment in God of War 3 when Kratos forces Poseidon's daughter to hold the crank up for him to get under the door, and then it ends up taking her and crushing her and killing her.
Yeah.
And him not caring, really in that moment, like made me frustrated to play the game because like, why am I? I'm the bad guy right now. I feel like I am the bad guy, just causing pain to other people. This feels awful. I don't feel like a hero. To see him on top of, I forget where they were in God of War, the new one in 2018 one, but to let go of those rags and to embrace his change and to want to be a better person is just such a night and day like difference of himself that it hit me so hard. It made me think about how, you know, my relationship with my father and what I might be like as a father and all these things, like made me just feel so many things that I, playing a God of War game, never would have thought I would feel. And it was just so crazy to me. I think The Last of Us, I was ready for that emotional impact, the emotional resonance of it. Not for God of War though. I was not ready for that. And it hit me way harder than I thought it would.
Yeah. I think like with also like the emotion that these games are invoking are different in what their view, like you said at the very top, the view of the world is, right? Like God of War is a hopeful idea of like beings that like no matter how awful you are, like you can face that and deal with that and it won't make it okay, but you can move on past it and like do good in the world, right? And undo that. And Last of Us it is saying like at no point do these characters ever reflect on that because they're so lost in what they're trying to do and what their purpose is. I mean, speaking to that moment that you talked about with The Last of Us when you have to kill that dog, the game then forces you later in the game to develop a relationship with that dog, to care about that dog, right? Like that you then spend the next half of the game building a relationship with this dog, building a relationship with this person who you killed earlier in the game, right? Like it is this, I think it does something so different of humanizing every single being that you run into in that game. Like every like big villain, big bad, not just like, you know, the villain has good intentions, but like these are beings and humans that have purpose and goals, and everyone you kill is like a life that you are ending, which in another part of this game you experience them as a human in a way that again has never been done before, in a way that I think for me almost puts The Last of Us above God of War in how much it is invoking of me as a person and forcing me to reflect on in this moment how Ellie was feeling, but also how I was feeling against these people. Like I hate them, I want to kill them, they're monsters, to then force me to see the other side of that and to see who they are and experience their lives. That is like so intense. It's so hard to do. Like, so absolutely impossible. Like, as a human, it is hard to do that. Like, you know, you're driving and somebody cuts you off and you get upset, right? Like, that's a feeling that you have, but not aware that this other person has gone through this whole life and experience and has people who love them and who they care about and care about them, right? Where Last of Us is forcing you to think about that in a way that is, I think, like, so different and so important. Yeah. And it is in conversation. Both of these games, what makes them incredible is they're in conversation with not just the story they're telling, but like games as a whole and what they are and what they have been, right? Like The Last of Us Part 2 is having direct conversation with Uncharted 1, right? Where Nathan Drake is murdering people senselessly. Yes. And he's the hero of that story. The Last of Us 2 is like that taken to, well, what if that guard you just killed was a person? What would that be like? Let's experience that in this game. That is really interesting. And God of War is doing it in a different way. Like, Kratos, here's a person you know and played and hated. What would it be like if he had to teach somebody how to move through the world, and he had someone he cared about in a way that, you know, he had to deal with? But I think the act of forcing you in a way that does take away some player agency, and that is like recognized and hard, and I understand that, but it is important, forces you to reflect on these characters. I think that puts Last of Us emotionally a little bit higher for me.
You sold me. I actually was thinking in my mind God of War, but I forgot about that aspect of having to see the other side. And honestly, you are totally right, because that's the thing that God of War not misses, but like just didn't do, because it'd be kind of weird for it to in the story that it was telling. I mean, I guess they kind of. You didn't play as Atreus in the first one. No.
You don't.
Because I think they do more of that in the second game. You know what I mean? Right. A little bit more when you see Atreus' side more when you play as him. But you're right, though. You're right, because then you do develop a relationship with all these characters. And you're right. That person that cut you off going on the highway is a horrible person to you. But what if they're trying to get to the hospital? It's the person they love is about to die, or what is happening in their life when they cut you off? And that's something that I'm trying to work on for myself personally. Is I'm that person that's like, why did they cut me off? That's horrible. Like, couldn't they have a But then I'm trying to be better with that. So that's so true. Are you thinking that emotional resonance for The Last of Us Part 2 is a 3 for you or for us?
I think so. And I mean, I think like God of War is 2.8, right?
That's
like,
what I was thinking too. Yeah.
Like it's very close, but I think that act of like you're hunting these people down and killing them, like especially like right after you kill that dog, you shoot a pregnant woman, right? Who
oh my god, I gotta play this game again. You're right. Oh my god.
Yeah, you shoot her.
That's right.
And then as you play as Abby, like you're taking care of this person. You're helping this person move through the world. That dog becomes like a character who helps you through areas, and you can send them to distract people, right? Like it forces you to reevaluate who these people are. You're looking through a lens of Ellie, and now look through the lens of Abby and see that like both of these people are bad and wrong. In what they're doing. What Abby did was bad and wrong. Abby has a community that cares about her and supports her. What Ellie is doing now is bad and wrong. Ellie had a community that cared about and supported her, right? And these people who are mortal enemies are just people who are broken and hurt, right? And who have broken and hurt each other.
People hurt people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I think like that experience was so intense. And such a masterclass in like empathy and like thinking about others in a way that God of War, I think, is beautiful and speaks to like we as people can overcome anything we've done in the past as long as we like understand we make mistakes and we hurt people and that was wrong. But like you can still be seen as a good person as long as you recognize that and make steps towards doing better. Which again is like a message that Abby and Ellie need to hear, right? These are like important messages to understand, and they just didn't have somebody like Kratos who made all these mistakes. Like Joel didn't have the emotional intelligence to do what Kratos did, right? Like it's so interesting. These games and conversation.
If only Joel had the chains of chaos. Well, none of this would have happened.
Exactly. Because like Joel made mistakes when he was younger too, right? Like they both did terrible things when they were younger. They both like murdered people and took advantage of people. But Kratos was forced to like move past that and accept that and for the sake of his son. And Joel wasn't ready to do that. Right. Wasn't ready to say, hey, I've made mistakes and here's But which the tragedy of that game is when he was ready to do that, he was cut short, right?
Yes.
Like, because I think maybe I'm miscorrect here, but like when Joel left to go with Tommy the next day or something like that, he was going to talk to Ellie and explain what happened. There's some timeline where like Joel and Ellie were going to meet that night to have a conversation, and Joel never showed up. Yeah. And Joel never showed up. So Joel and Ellie never got to have that conversation, which is what made it so hard for Ellie. Yeah. You should, when you are ready, Eric, you should replay it because it is.
I should.
It's nuts. It's absolutely insane. And I think like there are challenges with taking away autonomy in some places of that game, but it is really important to tell that story. They have to. But
yeah. Which I think kind of then goes into, speaking of the characters, I think goes into the characters. I don't see how you could really mince between the two. I think they're both 3s because the characters are so gripping that's like hard to truly tell a difference, I think, in my mind.
I completely agree.
Plot also, I feel like, is so hard to I mean, they're so different plot. They're such different plots, but at the same time, like our criteria for plot is, a strong plot with clear structure, conflict, and resolution, and we factor in, pacing, tension, and surprise. I think, now I'm saying it out loud, Ryan, I think that maybe going back to your argument for the emotional resonance and having it for Last of Us Part 2, forcing you to go through Abby's perspective might enhance the plot of the game a little bit more than God of War's plot. Not to say God of War's plot's bad by any means. In fact, I mean, it's fantastic. It's almost equal in my mind. But I think in terms of plot, it helps you, again, understand the full dynamic of the story being told here. Whereas for God of War, it's just through Kratos and Atreus' perspective.
I mean, it would be like, and they play around with this in the next God of War game to an extent, right? They further force Kratos to face his demons, but it isn't present here. It's as in I think, talking about what we talked about in emotional resonance in the beginning, like, it would be as if you, right before, God of War 2018 started, you had to, like, replay an abridged version of God of War 1 through 3.
Oh, that'd be so
like,
cool.
That would really force you to understand where Kratos is coming from, or if you didn't experience that. Like, that doesn't take place in the frame of the game. In the same way where The Last of Us, they both take place, like, in the frame of the game. Yeah. And, not playing Last of Us Part 1 would certainly mean you would feel a little bit lost in the motivations and the characters. But I think you can play God of War without having that. But having that experience enhances the God of War experience.
Yes. Almost like I feel like this is like having baggage is a negative aspect in terms of this dynamic. Because you're right. Having that really does enhance the plot. But that's a lot of game to go through compared to just one other game for The Last of Us Part 2 to fully understand the dynamic of the story, which is maybe a little bit easier. Because you kind of need those to really get the full... Yeah. And it's a lot. It's a lot. So
And they certainly speak to it, but not in the same way. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't know about you, Ryan. I kind of feel it's in the same vein as before for the emotional resonance, where Last of Us might be a 3 and God of War might be 2.8.
Yeah, I think that feels reasonable.
But I think again, both are fantastic. I don't want to feel like I'm bashing God of War by any means. Like, it's so hard to pick between. I've been like kind of like low key like
I think
anxious
this would
about
be,
this, but yeah.
I think this would be a very different story if we were talking about The Last of Us Part 1 and God of War 2018.
Yes,
I think those would be in a much more similar conversation, right? With how you're talking about, like, they're complex and they're interesting, but what they're doing is very similar. Like, Joel made mistakes. Joel is helping teach somebody something new. Kratos makes mistakes. I would almost think Kratos would win out there because of the complexity of Kratos' character in that moment versus the complexity of Joel's character. Where this is a evolution of that story. Where I don't necessarily think God of War, Ragnarok is in the same way was as much of an evolution as The Last of Us Part 1 to The Last of Us Part 2 was, but I certainly think, all that to say, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I hear you. Like the emotional depth of the jump between God of War 3 and God of War 2018 does not compare to kind of God of War 2018 to Ragnarok. You know what I mean? Like that, right. It doesn't feel the same because it's just kind of different because of there's just the emotional intensity of kind of the situation. Hopefully it makes sense. It made sense in my mind.
Yeah. I totally agree. I mean, I think what not that we need to spend a ton of time talking about Ragnarok.
Yeah.
Ragnarok, like, was building on the story, but by building on it, it was very good and enjoyable, but it lost the tightness of, this is my son, I need to protect my son. The goal in God of War, 2018, is to take your wife's ashes to a mountain. That's it. Yeah. Everything that gets in the way is a mess. Like, the goal of, God of War Ragnarok is to, like, prevent Ragnarok. Like, it's just more complicated.
So complicated.
And that complexity, I think, in some ways can take away from that plot, that really strong, intense plot.
Yeah, I agree.
Right.
Simplicity. I mean, I'm a full proponent that simplicity is key. Like,
absolutely.
Last of Us Part 2, you gotta kill Abby. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? And so, like, that's like kind of the simplicity of it. It gets mucked along the way. You know what I mean? As it does.
Yeah, it builds on that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then world building, the setting, the atmosphere, the rules of the world, both are very complex because both are kind of in different ways. Obviously, The Last of Us Part 2 is very real, real world centric, and God of War is very mythical. But both are very, I would argue, very much worlds where there is no kind of law in place. And the idea that, you know what I mean? Like anyone can do anything, really. you know, of course there'll be consequences for those actions, you know, probably, but like there is no kind of law structure essentially for what happens in these worlds. They're both kind of chaotic in a sense, just in very obviously different ways because of the dynamic of the worlds. So for world building, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, it's just for world building. We're looking at the setting, the atmosphere, and the rules of the world in which the story takes place, and how it greatly impacts the reader's experience. The gamer's experience. Sorry. So we're looking at factors such as consistency, detail, and immersion. I mean, both I feel like are extremely immersive and consistent.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and detailed. So for me, not to go on too long about these things, but to me, I feel like they're almost kind of equal in my mind. I both feel like they're probably threes for me. Just because I don't know, I feel like I'd be like probably just pulling hairs at this point to see which world is more better, you know, to see which one's better or not. You know what I mean? So that's
yeah. I mean, I think your preference here is solely based on like the grade you give here is probably solely based on which setting you prefer, right? Like if you prefer a more grounded real world setting that is like, here's what would happen if, you know, the world devolved to chaos and there's this, you know, whole layer of stuff. And something which like is incredible we haven't talked about yet of The Last of Us is like there's fungus zombies, right? Like that is the thing
true.
about The Last of Us, right? That like that is the set dressing of this world that we are in. And in God of War, the set dressing is like Greek mythology, which what was incredible about God of War, like what was Norse mythology. What was incredible about God of War is it jumped pantheons, right? Like it jumped pantheons in a way that was seamless and felt, you know, authentic and real. Like that was the trick of that setting, taking going from the world of Greek gods and the world of Greek deities to the Norse setting of you go to all these different underworlds and in different realms of Norse mythology. And I think the only real difference here is like your preference of if you prefer them and like what connects with you personally. I agree that I think they both do this really incredible world building. They both feel immersive. They both have these like incredible set pieces. In Last of Us, one of the cool tricks of The Last of Us Part 2 is you're visiting places multiple times from different perspectives, right? Like, not only are you seeing the world through Abby's perspective as a character, you're seeing the same place in multiple ways and multiple angles and times, right? That's really interesting. Like, there's, as you know, Ellie, if you pay it really close attention, there's places you'll pass and you'll look at and you'll see in game that you know in that moment Abby is there. I know Abby is there right now.
You're right.
Like it adds. There's this really cool trick of that, and then in God of War, it is visually realizing Norse mythology in a way that has never been done before to that degree. Like the world of the Dark Elves and the Light Elves, and that constant struggle that they're fighting in. The world of Muspelheim, this like volcanic, like it's these really wide and diverse settings. The Last of Us, everything really kind of looks beautiful, but it's all very, you're in the same city. The whole game takes place in like the same cityscape.
Seattle looks the same now as it does in the game.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I've never been on it.
But yeah, like that, the trick of The Last of Us is they built this, this space and you explore it from multiple angles. The trick of God of War is like you're seeing this different space and then you're going to these like own like self-included realms and getting to experience with them. But yeah, I think similarly, I think the hard part of this conversation, I think, has already been won. Yeah, the setting piece is they're pretty equivalent.
Doesn't matter. Yeah, I think they both are really cool. Like, okay, all right. And with that, it looks like by just 0.4, 0.4 points, that we have The Last of Us Part 2 winning out narratively against God of War. Don't hate us. I still love both. I actually honestly thought God of War would... I thought we'd end up picking God of War, to be honest with you. Just kind of just my gut feeling without going too far into it or thinking too far into it. I just thought that's what we would pick. But just talking it through really helped a lot to fully grasp. I mean, this goes into our whole thought of the show and the idea that sharing perspectives is so powerful because you can kind of see outside your own and really get a full grasp of the picture. And I'm happy you did, because Ryan, the points you made really sold me on why Last of Us Part 2 probably deserves a win over God of War.
Yeah, and I think like the tough thing is like emotional resonance. Why I think The Last of Us Part 2 has a stronger emotional story because it forces you to play both perspectives. But from a personal level, like I personally connected with the experience of God of War more.
Yeah.
Because like, you know, because it is like a father-son story, right? And that is something I have experienced and I have reflected and thought about. And that is something that like emotionally, I'd say like in that moment, I had a stronger connection to. And thinking back, that is a game that I think made me think more about like my history and who I am in a lot of different ways. The Last of Us Part 2, I think, has a stronger overall because it forces you to take that perspective. But, you know, I don't have that same, like I've never like gone on a revenge journey, right? That isn't something I've ever gone through.
Not yet.
I have had an experience of like,
No,
I have had an experience of like having a father, right? And having that be a really complicated and messy relationship. So I think like emotionally I resonated a lot. I think more with God of War, but I think The Last of Us Part 2 is overall like a more complex emotional experience.
Yeah, I think you're nail on the head. I think you are totally correct. I think yeah. Do you think I can still dress up as Kratos though when I have my first kid though? Would that be still appropriate? Emotionally?
Yeah.
What do you want to name him? Boy.
Perfect.
Oh man, I don't see how this is gonna be.
That's the messy. When we don't see them, it gets weird and messy.
It gets really weird and messy. These are totally like Ryan did a great job just going into a random generator and just generating a random thing, and then we saw this as the sixth one. There's still 3 more to go, and it's like, how is anything going to beat either one of these games? What are one, you know? So, I mean, we are at an hour now, and we do have to get ready for our movie soon, so we might just kind of blow through the rest. I don't know.
I think we can, because I absolutely think we can. I think like there's a conversation to be had in round 7. I think the challenge with round 7 is neither of us have fully completed one of these games, but I think we have an idea of what the experience could be.
Yeah.
But I think then, you know, round 8 is going to be a pretty easy conversation, and then round 9 I think is not going to be as hard as the one we just had. So I think we plow through, and I don't think this is going to take nearly as long.
Yeah, I think we kind of just be loosey goosey with it because I mean, next up is Baldur's Gate 3 versus Breath of the Wild, and from our conversation before, we didn't do the criteria too heavily for Baldur's Gate's last matchup with The Witcher Part 3 or Witcher 3. I mean, even though it probably should have, I guess, in retrospect. Or I think I did, and I maybe deleted it. I forget. But we had Breath of the Wild as we rated the emotional resonance as 1, the character development as 2, the plot as 2, and the world building as 3. So I mean, for Baldur's Gate 3, kind of just going off of, again, you played way more than I have, Ryan. I have not really played really any. But I with how in-depth that world is, with the characters talking to each other, and you as a main character also choosing dialogue for yourself, which Link is not able to do. I think that kind of, in my mind, greatly enhances the narrative experience of the story that you're crafting, whereas Zelda is much more linear. You are kind of a voiceless character in a world that kind of drives the plot for you, whereas in Baldur's Gate 3, you drive the plot.
Absolutely. Yeah. In some pretty major ways, in some pretty interesting ways. Yeah. I would love, Eric, I would love so much to play this game with you sometime just to see what this experience would be like. We need to do that sometime because
I want to stream with you so bad. I think we would I think it'd be so much fun. I was actually thinking about that the other day, how much fun it would be to just stream games together and just talk as we play. Like, it'd be so much fun. If people want that, let me know, because that's the motivation I need. Yeah. Because I don't know. I think that'd be so much fun to do.
Absolutely.
Because I would need you, Ryan, because I would just try to probably start making goofy choices, and I think I need you to kind of be like, no, we shouldn't do that.
I mean, the beauty of Baldur's Gate is it is a game where you can go in millions of directions. None of them break the game. That's
cool.
Insane.
So I can start a cult.
You can start a cult. You can Whoa, like really? There's you can kill a major character in that game, and plot keeps moving.
I can't kill the vampire boy. Everyone's gonna hate me. Everyone will hate me.
They would, that would be that. Yeah.
I can't kill him. He's too hot. Everyone loves him.
Too hot and dreamy.
He's too hot. I'm nowhere near as hot as him. There's no way.
Yeah.
Everyone knows you can't be hotter than the person that you kill in video games. It's not possible.
It's the rules.
So in my mind, I'm just gonna kind of go loosey goosey, like we talked about. Baldur's Gate 3, it has to be narratively more complex and more intricate than Breath of the Wild. In my mind, I love Breath of the Wild, love Zelda, of course, favorite series in all video games. But for me personally, Ryan, and tell me what you think. I think Baldur's Gate 3 has to be the winner, right?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like,
sorry, I was like, it has to be. I was like, Ryan, tell me what you think, but it has to be the winner, right? Like that seemed very unfair to put that on you.
I think I agree. I mean, looking at our criteria here, like emotional resonance, I think there is some emotional moments in that game that don't hit until like pretty late in the experience, where like characters in like the very first act will open up to you about their fears of the world. And then you later help them face those fears and overcome those fears. There's a character in like the first act of the game who's pretty aggressive and mean towards you. And then in a later part of that act, these people who this person looks up to more than anything else kind of like dismisses them, and it destroys this character. And they are kind of a mess. And like they come to you and you talk them through that and help them work through that and help them overcome that. Like, hey, you are more than just what these people think of you, in this like really intense and emotional way that can go, you know, a bunch of different directions. Or you could like totally miss that depending on the choices you make. So there's like there's this emotional core there that is really important. Your choices matter in a way that like this character you save in this like random, you know, encounter in Act 1, you'll meet them in Act 3 and they're thanking you and telling you how much like it changed their lives, and vice versa. The characters are really well developed. All of the major characters that you can, you know, get in your party have character arcs and have emotional changes they can go through. I mean, I think the plot is much more complex, but there is still this core of like, you are dying and you need to do something about it that is, you know, pretty, you know, pressing. And then the world building, it is a very immersive experience. I don't know if the world building would beat out Breath of the Wild here, but I think with emotional resonance and character, I think it probably would.
I think it would have to beat Zelda. So makes sense. Cool. Then Baldur's Gate moves on. Sorry, Breath of the Wild. Good luck hunting. I don't know. I had a whole. I was going to go with
hunting.
It. It seemed right.
That's what they say.
Good luck hunting. That's going to be on the cult T-shirt. Good luck hunting. And then our next matchup is it is. Wait, hold up. I got this. Dragon Age Inquisition and The Last of Us Part 2. And I think we both have said that we never played Dragon Age Inquisition, even though our good friend Celeste is someone who recommended it to you. I think she is replaying. It has co-op, Eric. It has co-op. Really? Oh, right. Yeah. Oh, we gotta stream. Oh, we gotta stream so bad. God, we just gotta get all that money from all those millionaires and get them down that ocean. We gotta get to the bottom of that ocean and just take that money. Then we're set. We can just have fun and stream. Yeah. You can make atrocities and have fun. But yeah, that's good cults do. But no, I mean, this isn't a fair matchup because we don't have the knowledge we probably need. But I would bet my bottom dollar, which I don't know where that saying comes from, but I would bet that bottom dollar. Is that? Oh wait, side note. Sorry, ADHD thinking. Yeah. When they say bet that bottom dollar, are they talking about dollars gained from sending rich people to the bottom of the ocean?
If they don't, that might be a new thing for us to latch on to. I bet that the dollar that is in my pocket because there's a man at the bottom of the ocean
that I stole it from. But I would bet that bottom dollar that I can't imagine The Last of Us Part 2 would be not as narratively gripping, complex, all the things as Dragon Age Inquisition. I'm sure I would imagine Dragon Age Inquisition is very good. I'm not saying it's bad by any means. I'm sure it probably has an intricate story, very much like Baldur's Gate 3, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Pretty similar experiences. Yeah.
But I think a story in which, I mean, this could be so wrong, but just kind of what I'm thinking, I guess. I think a story that is told in a way like The Last of Us Part 2, in which it is this kind of very highly focused story with only one linear path that is so complex and so thought out, in my mind, has more levity or more significance than a story like maybe Dragon Age Inquisition or Baldur's Gate 3, in which you were kind of crafting that story to can be anything. And then granted, I can totally see this in a different light where someone would argue the opposite. You're creating your own story. That is more significant, and I think that is valid. I think for me personally, though, I think that the emotional resonance of The Last of Us Part 2 is so intensely and gripping because so much thought was put into this one narrative story that it kind of carries more of that significance for me personally.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
Yeah, okay.
Completely agree.
So, sorry for anyone that likes
here we'll say this, Eric, and this I'll say this because then this will also cover our next conversation. We'll play at some point Dragon Age and Baldur's Gate, and if anything feels different, we'll come back and change it.
Redacted, yeah. We'll redact it. We'll delete the episode in shame. We'll shame ourselves live on Twitch. Shaming ourselves live on Twitch. We will do a bikini pool party in shame.
Absolutely.
Is that still a thing on Twitch?
Probably. I don't know.
That's crazy to me. I mean, not crazy like. Oh, me either. I had no idea, but like, not crazy to people who host those. You do you. You know, if you're making money and you're happy doing it, you do you. People watching it, that's a different story in my mind. I don't know about that one, but I mean, people who make the money, you do you. I totally support that.
Make money however you can make it.
Heck yeah.
I'm selling my body every day at work. You do however you want to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
100%. My labor is being taken every day, and I have less say than you do. You do you, and good for you.
And they make more money than us combined, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
100%. Yeah, I sell my mental sanity every single day.
Absolutely.
Listening to things that terrify me. But you know, we get through it. We
do.
So that comes to our final matchup. We will end it this episode. We are 1 hour and 11 minutes. We're gonna get through it though. We got this. And the last matchup is Baldur's Gate Part 3 versus The Last of Us Part 2. And I mean, I think this is a really good matchup. For sure.
Yeah, I think this is a great matchup. Yeah, I mean, I think going through all the... I mean, I think I would see this a little bit differently as we move through the experience, but I think this is a great matchup. I would love to eventually, after we've played Baldur's Gate, have a follow-up conversation, or either on here or not.
Yeah.
But I do think this is a great matchup. I think these are two very different ways to tell a story. Like, one is open and sprawling. You can kind of choose your path and choose what you want to connect with and not. And one is very linear. And like The Last of Us Part 2 has this incredible emotional story and journey. But like, you as a character, the choices you have are very slim, if any, at all. And how you move through this world, like there is a clear... The way you approach an encounter is you have some freedom. But no matter what you do, you're going to end up in the same place. With the same experience. The magic of Baldur's Gate 3 is that isn't necessarily the case, and is still emotionally satisfying and interesting and complex. So that I do think this is an interesting matchup. I don't think that changes my answer necessarily, but I do think this is an interesting matchup.
Well, I'm thinking about in terms of like emotional resonance, and I think that the thing that I see differently between these two games, which you're right, Ryan, they're so different. Like going back to the Dragon Age Inquisition conversation we just had, is that with Baldur's Gate 3, you can, if you don't like a part of the story that you are crafting for yourself, you can just reload your save, hypothetically, and start again to get a better part of your story, which I think kind of takes away some of that emotional resonance, whereas in The Last of Us Part 2, you're forced into it. You have to sit with the discomfort of the choices that these characters are making, and you are just kind of along for the ride to understand what the story is trying to tell you. Whereas Baldur's Gate Part 3 might have, and probably does, a lot of emotional resonance with what happens, but also you can alleviate some of that emotional resonance by trying to craft the perfect story, which I think takes away potentially some of that impactfulness.
Yeah, I think that's like a really incredible thing to notice, Eric. I didn't think about that at all, because I think like me as a person, of course, like playing The Witcher 3 after getting the experience I had, I spent time saying like, no, this isn't what I want. I'm going to go find a better version of this. Right? And I had the freedom to do that, and I got the ending that I got, and I was like, yeah, I did it. I checked a box. Versus like you said, The Last of Us, you can't do that. You have to sit with this experience of like doing something that makes you uncomfortable. And I think God of War does this just a little bit. Like there are some moments in that game you're like, no, like I thought we were trying to do better. What are you doing? No, we can't. And you don't have the choice, and that's really powerful and intense. But yeah, I think that's such an incredible point, and I think that is something that like I think some people dislike and don't enjoy that experience of having to experience that emotional feeling, and that's totally valid and understandable. But I think, like you said, that does make it more powerful when you have to sit in that discomfort. You have to sit in that like that's not how I thought about the world, and now I have to sit and exist in the space where this is how the world is, and I don't like that.
Yep.
Right? Which is a very real feeling as a human, right? Things happen that you don't like, and you just have to, you can't go back and fix it. That's the power fantasy of video games, right? Is that you can, and you have autonomy and power. And this game takes some of that autonomy away in exchange to like tell you a story.
Yeah.
Which I think is really interesting. That what a cool thing you noticed there. That's so great.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I think I mean it comes up in mental health a lot too, and this is something that even I'm working on as someone who's like in mental health and kind of working with people on their mental health is like the idea that as human beings we try to avoid discomfort because of course discomfort is uncomfortable, but really truly you can only truly grow through discomfort, like especially through mental health. Now I'm not saying everyone should just like destroy their mental health and put themselves in discomfort for the sake of growing, but when things are uncomfortable that especially you cannot control, sitting with it and reflecting on why do I feel uncomfortable with this and learning from that experience is so beneficial to you as a person, because then it helps you kind of understand yourself more, right? Rather than trying to avoid something for the sake of your own comfort, because nothing can truly be gained from comfort. And so that is something that's kind of like sitting with me right now is like, for The Last of Us, I would love to avoid the situation where I had to kill the dog, but I still had to kill the dog and I still had to sit with that. And granted, yes, it's a video game, but at the same time too, like, I think there's something very human about empathizing with things that we are interacting with, like games, like movies, like books, whatever it is, where we are experiencing this thing and it's hard not to empathize. And so like, you know, the moments in those games that where someone's life is taken that you don't want to happen. Like this is what we see when it comes to people who, not to get too real with this, but people who like played The Last of Us Part 2 and then sent death threats to the actor that played Abby. I forget her, Laura Bailey. Yeah, Laura Bailey.
Laura Bailey.
Because the idea of, I think from, you know, what I would bet, right, from my hypothesis is that the idea of sitting in that discomfort for those people was too much. And so their go-to to alleviate that discomfort, to have some kind of autonomy and control, was to send a death threat to an actor, which is not okay. And those people need to really work on their mental health and work on themselves. But it's the people who sit with that discomfort and think, why did this make me feel so upset? The death of this character made me feel so upset. Why is that? And learning from that will help you grow as a person to really cherish those things and embrace those things and have that be a priority for you. And how do you help yourself when you're in discomfort, right? Like there's nothing wrong with feeling uncomfortable with something, but it's, I would argue, maybe unfortunate not to learn from it and grow from it and help yourself get through it. Yeah. So saying all that, I mean, Ryan, I don't know if there's anything more you want to say.
I mean, I think we could go on for hours, Eric, having these conversations about the same experience. I mean, as you were talking, that made me think of something else that is interesting.
Go for it.
I don't think it necessarily adds to the conversation we're having to wrap this up. I think it's like a separate thought of, oh, interesting. I never thought about that, but I wonder if that would be, I wonder if that would have improved that experience.
Are you talking about the discomfort of sitting in bikinis and on Twitch?
No, I'm comfortable with that. That's
okay. Okay, cool. All right. All right, that's fair. Yeah. Hey, I gotta put my money where my mouth is, right? You gotta be uncomfortable to grow, right? I guess in that little pool in a bikini, I think to myself, why am I uncomfortable? How can I grow from this?
What relationship do I have with my body that makes me feel uncomfortable just sitting down here so other people can see? Is this something that can change, or something that I just need to accept and move on from and focus on the things that can change? Right. Not send death threats to good actors. Yeah, take my money. Give me money. So with that, I think Storygoers. Ryan, I would love to give you the honors of announcing the winner of this bracket. The best narrative experience from the past decade of the Game Awards Game of the Year winners goes to The Last of Us Part 2, of course. And of course, this is our own opinion of all these things. Yeah. And of course, there are a ton of indie games that we've experienced and played that were really wonderful and lovely that were not included in this list because they didn't win a Game Award. And everybody knows what Jeff says goes. And that's just how the world works.
That's just how it goes now. He's friends with Kojima, and once you're there, you're kind of at the top, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But no, I think I would love to hear perspectives from this. If you have, if you agree with us, please let us know why. If you don't, if you think God of War should have won, or Baldur's Gate, or Dragon Age Inquisition, heck, even Elden Ring. Let us know. Please send your thoughts, feelings, and perspectives to talesfromthecartridge@gmail.com. All the E's are 3's. Find us on our social media. Leave a voicemail or text at 207-494-4334. Or we'll probably have this question down below, hopefully, in the Spotify comments. If you're listening to us on Spotify, feel free to answer there, and we'll read all those in a future episode. Whew. Oof. Next time, hopefully our next DLC will be more fun and whimsical. Maybe a character wheel. It actually will be our the same time as our 5th year anniversary.
5th year anniversary, yeah. Wow. Pretty wild.
Is that really right? Is it 5 years? We started in 2020.
2020. We started in. Well, did we start in? So we started in the fall of 2020. So it would have ticked over to 2021.
Yeah.
So I guess 4.
It has to be 4, I guess, right?
Right, because
math is hard.
This is our 4th September.
Yeah.
This will be our 4th September because the September of 2020, the September of 2021, the September of 2023, September of 2024, which is what we're about to do.
Yeah.
So okay. This is our 4th. Fourth year.
Sorry, I cut you off. I thought you.
That's all I said.
I'm sorry.
That's all.
Oh no, I'm not going to edit that out of me saying 5 years. I'm going to sit with that discomfort and ask myself, why did that make me upset? And the answer will be, because I can't do math no matter how hard I try. And I'm just going to accept it. I'm going to accept it and grow from that and move on.
That's okay.
You can make fun of me for that if you want to.
That says nothing to you as a person that you weren't able to do some quick math in your head. That's fine. It says nothing.
What's 4 minus 0, right? 5.
Exactly.
Storygoers, we hope you're doing well. Everyone's happy, healthy, all the good stuff. Please don't be hesitant to join our cult of Neptune. Working title. Workshopping it. Yeah. If you know any wealthy people you want us to kind of manipulate into going to the bottom of the ocean and underwater kind of rapture-esque kind of world, let us know. We'll include them on the list if we're not already there. And yeah, anything else we need to say? Okay, well, hopefully you stayed for this whole episode. It's pretty wild. But
started in a wild place, ended in a also wild place.
Yeah, 100%.
We are beings of wide ranges. And
yes.
We can talk about, with complete earnest, sending rich people to the bottom of the ocean and the emotional complexity of media. We can do both.
And bikinis and on Twitch. And it's all valid. It's all valid.
Absolutely. It's all valid.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, hopefully we'll see you in the next episode unless we send you away for not wanting to come back. But as always, Storygoers, we hope you're happy, healthy, all the good stuff. And we'll see you in the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.